Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Have you ever thought of yourself as a victim? We've all been victims in various ways. Children can be victims. Children are defenseless. Children are dependent. How can you identify yourself? How can you move from being a victim to a victor? Well, I am very, very pleased to introduce you to my guest, Edwige Gilbert, who is the author of Victim to Victorious, a fresh start in 28 days. Victim to Victorious, a fresh start in 28 days. Wow, Edwige, that is some wonderful offer to make to people. Welcome to you. Edwige Gilbert, welcome to you. So tell us how, I read your book, so I have some ideas, but tell us from your point of view how you can do that in 28 days.
Well, because a habit, Dr. Duffy, has been proven to be created in neuroscience in 21 days. The cycle of the moon, the cycle of the woman. But I believe that if we practice every day the way we want to think of ourselves and act in the world, every day, we cannot miss a day during this process, we make a big difference at the end of the month. And that's what I promise my readers and my clients.
Wow, a daily practice, Edwige. And that's what they say. To create a new habit, it takes 21 to 28 to 30 days. Mm-hmm. And no interruptions.
No.
Right? No interruptions.
No.
Not one is allowed.
No.
And this is how we retrain our brain.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Well, I just want to let everyone know that we know each other through MAD, Movies Making a Difference, which is a wonderful organization to help victims of human trafficking, physical labor, sexual labor, all kinds of ways that people are enslaved. Yes. For being exploited for the good of others. Mm-hmm. And you and I resonate. That's where we met at the charity functions. You and I resonate to, I guess, the underdog, if you will, wanting to help people.
Yes.
And your story, you were not a victim of human trafficking, but you kind of in a way were abandoned by your parents, raised by a very strict grandmother, packed off to another country, all alone at the age of 5. You went through so much, Edwige, so much.
Yes, I did. I get, every time I hear someone tell my story, somehow I get to be a witness of this story, like it happened to somebody else. But yes, it happened to me. But I also believe that it was meant to be this kind of story. So today I can be helpful and share with people the good news that there is the power within us to transform our lives and go to the other side of the victory. So, and I also believe in forgiveness. I believe in understanding the other side. Yeah. And how other people had to do what they had to do. And so what the book, and you looked at it, you saw it, proves that we are victims. We're victims of circumstances. We're victims of the way we think about what happened and of our own mind. And we're victim of our habits and behaviors. And I see it all the time. People who tell me, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to drink so much. And yet they are affirming exactly what they are doing. Because don't, as you know, Dr. Duffy, doesn't resonate for the brain. It's not recorded. So they are telling me I'm continuing to be fat and drinking and overeating. And the words create our mind, our destiny. So
beautiful, beautiful. So you really have given us already an insight into why you are a transformation coach or guide. And I know, as you've told me, you use vision, you use the subconscious, you use your intuition, you use hypnosis, you use guided meditation, you use astrology, and it's beautiful. I find it so appealing. And I am a psychotherapist, and I am what's called a Gestalt psychotherapist, which is loosely translated from the German to mean whole or complete.
Yes.
And so it's body-mind therapy. Yes. And I also rely very much on my intuition, work with the subconscious. I'm not a psychoanalyst. I don't work with the subconscious in that way, but I am very much also into words, etymology, how can you use that word? And I will even in a session look up a word that someone has used. What was the word? Pontificate. One of my clients who really said how much she loved and valued her father, she said he always pontificated. And I looked it up, and it has to do with preachy and superior attitude and knowing better, being contemptuous. What do we give away in about our subconscious in our use of words? So you help people. I have to say, as a social psychologist, I know that many, mostly, unless we do a lot of traveling, people are what's called culture bound, meaning they don't really go outside of the norms of their world unless they're rebellious or they choose to. But there is so much that people learn about how to be. When you talk about getting out of your own way, getting out of the words that you use, this is a very hard thing because it's trying to explain to a fish what water is. A fish doesn't know what water is because the fish doesn't know what water isn't. And that is how the average person is. Their belief is their belief, and that's their perception, and that's the way things are. So that old adage, it's not what happened to me, it's what I do with it. Yes. I agree with it completely.
Okay. But Dr. Duffy, if I may interrupt you.
Oh, no, of course.
Okay, because when I discovered the definition, since you were looking up definition, I looked up definition, and I was exposed to a workshop where we had to give our definition on the word belief. And when I realized the description, I thought, this is simple now. Because when we think belief, it's like belief take over our life, that we are enslaved by those beliefs. It's not my fault, it's my belief. But when you deconstruct the word, you realize belief is a thought that you hold to be true, doesn't mean it is, and you keep repeating. So if you start thinking, what am I believing? And that became my beginning, the beginning of my journey, when my grandmother growing up, since she was in charge of me and was concerned about my well-being and protecting me from danger, she would say, "You can't," and would take over and do it for me. So I can't became my leitmotif in life. I came to America in my 20s, still carrying the voice of I can't. Thank God I decided to go on a journey, because I didn't know I was persecuted by a voice inside my head who didn't even belong to me. And then the moment I examined it, I said, is it really true? Who says? Grandmother. Okay, so let's take that out and put something else. And that's when transformation began, from the can't to I can, which leads you to victory. Anytime you create something positive, you claim your victory. We need to recognize and recompense ourselves. It's not enough to say, I feel worthy or I am entitled. This to me is arrogant. What you are worthy of is yourself taking care of your journey and how you want it to be, and reward yourself for the way you behave on this journey.
Wow. Keep rewarding yourself as you're on the journey, not when you so-called reach your goal.
Right. That's a different journey. Maybe the reach your goal, Dr. Duffy, could be to be transformed and to have this vision of, like you call it in Gestalt, the wholeness, being authentic, not being a fake, pretending to the world with a big smile how happy you are, when inside you detest yourself. And I've seen that people hating themselves, but smiling to others. I mean, this is not a good thing, I believe. It can create definitely chaos and chaotic, outcomes.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking how one of my audio programs on self-esteem building is the 3 R's of self-esteem building. And the first is to risk. Go out there. I can just go out there, do it. And the second is reward. And the reason I put that second is because so many people, if they're willing to take a risk and it doesn't work out, they blame themselves. They say, I shouldn't have, rather than, reward yourself for taking the risk in the first place. Because a risk by definition is not a guarantee. It cannot be a guarantee. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a risk. And then the third R is to redirect. Okay, so what have I learned? And what is my new direction out of that learning? So you and I are so much on the same page. Edwige.
Oh my God, I need to write it down. I got my 3C, Dr. Duffy. We're on the R. Okay, my 3 C's is the beginning of the journey, which is to calm yourself down, because if you want to create something, you need to clear first, right? What you don't want to get to what you want. People like to bypass the first step. So the first step is really that presence of your own being in your own presence. And it's called calm, being calm, 3 C's, centered in the body, being balanced, and connected to infinite possibilities that we always have for transformation, for love, for joy. It's out there, but it's starting to be first within you by establishing that, I call it safe within, which I missed in my life. Nobody taught me to feel, because of also my circumstances. I never really felt safe within. It was always on the alarm, alert, and anxiety was really ruining my life. Anxiety and fear. Fear can destroy people, and more than the truth. So my
safe within.
Safe within.
I love your 3 C's. And that's how you organize your book.
Yes, clear and create. Clear and create, 2-step. Because the clear is to establish, getting rid of all this belief, negativity, and inventory. How do I feel? We got to start where we are. Like you said, take a risk. And I mean, our philosophy is perfect together. The 3 C's, it's
3
wonderful.
R's. Yeah. We really, no wonder we connected. Oh, yes, my word.
Yes.
There's so much here, Edwige, because that so struck me to be connected, meaning first to be safe within.
Yes.
And I remember that I did not feel safe until I was 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
And I had no idea that I hadn't felt safe before that. I had no idea, Edwige. I went to my first therapy session when I was 20 because I had left my alcoholic, violent household at the age of 18 to get married. I married at 18, and my first husband was abusive. So what else is new?
Yes.
And paranoid, jealous.
Oh, no.
And then I started, and I didn't think I had a way out. I felt trapped because I had no marketable skills.
Yes.
My parents had gotten divorced and weren't interested in taking me in as a home, nor was I interested in living with them.
Yes.
So I developed all kinds of phobias. I was afraid of my own skin. I had claustrophobia, agoraphobia, solophobia. I was afraid to be alone. And so thank goodness I developed the phobias at the age of 20 because it brought me into therapy. And when you said that, safe within, that was the first time I felt safe at my very first session with my therapist. So that's big. That's so big.
But you know, Dr. Duffy, what people do to feel safe within without realizing what they're actually doing is either drinking, right? Alcohol. Because it numbs you, or what I used to do until I went on the journey is eat the things that age us, like we talked about. The sugar, oh my God. And I discovered anything which had to do with carbs, you know.
Oh, yes.
And in New York was the days of bagels, fat-free diet is the way to go. And I embarked on it. I was the happiest, except I became hypoglycemic. I mean, to a point, I couldn't think straight. It's amazing today I'm not either diabetic or stayed hypoglycemic. So I called my diet bagels and brownies, and I don't recommend anybody try it.
Oh, I agree so much. I don't eat any white stuff at all. I don't eat any processed foods. But, you know, I did. I was a food addict.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I am now a food addict in recovery. I think once a person is born into addiction and has these profound addictive habits for decades, that I am very much in recovery, but I know that there are certain things that trigger me that I do not eat.
Yes.
And the way I put it is when people say, everybody's eating dessert and I'm not, oh, you have so much willpower. I don't have willpower at all. No. I have won't power.
Yes.
I cannot handle it, so I won't.
Yes. But Dr. Duffy, can I add something to this?
Of course.
Willpower does not work because what you've done, you created a vision for yourself of the person you want to be. You want to be healthy. You want to be vibrant. You want to be alert and focused, and you know that the moment, subconsciously, you know that all this food would trigger you. Therefore, I call it the pain-pleasure principle activated in the brain. We all move away from pain, whatever is considered painful to the mind, and towards pleasure. So it's like me, for instance, after the bagel brownie phase, I used to be a model in my country. I came and I blew up 30 pounds. I completely lost my body image, which was what I needed to do because I was too much attached to the body. So the universe knew I needed to lose it temporarily to focus somewhere else, which was mind and soul. But on the journey of transformation, what happened to me is I lost interest for self-destruction. It happened on its own. I never dwell on it. Should I eat? Shouldn't I eat? All of a sudden, I was so happy being me, discovering me, that I wanted to reward myself with good food and good choices. And before I knew it, the weight came off. And to these days, people say, oh, you must be dieting, you must be watching. I don't do any of this. What I do is believe in my subconscious programming, which is now programmed for staying this weight, no matter what happened. And this has been going on for the last, 30 years. I just stay there. And the harder for people to believe that when we get older, like, how can you maintain your weight? Because you don't believe you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And I want everyone to know that Edwige Gilbert is a stunningly gorgeous woman, slender, tall, blonde, straight hair with bangs straight across, high cheekbones. You know, the Bo Derek look. She's a 10. She's a 10. And, you know, the idea of being so beautiful and also being so intelligent and accomplished. You know, we look at very beautiful women, especially the stereotypes around blondes, as being vapid, vacuous, stupid, silly. And it's just so untrue and so unfair.
Dr. Duffy, I got to share a funny moment where I was somewhere outside Whole Foods, something was going on, and I was preoccupied, and therefore not present to what was going on. And I kind of left my door open of the car, and this gentleman next to me said, excuse me, I think you need to know your door is open, like before. And I said, oh, thank you so much. But you know what? When you are blonde, you're being challenged. I was laughing.
Oh, yes.
And the gentleman looked at me and said, no, you are very good. You're doing very well. No worries. And he took it seriously because you see the condescendence we get.
Right.
As being a blonde. I mean, really, it's
boy. Yes. So we have just a couple of minutes left for this show, which is unbelievable.
Oh, it went fast.
I know. And I want everyone to know that they are going to have part 2 of Edwige Gilbert on her book, Victim to Victorious.
Thank you.
And so the good news is tune in next week to hear more of Edwige. And right now, I just want people to know that you have so many interesting, unusual things in your book. You do something, exercise with the fingers.
Oh, I love this. Thank you for bringing this up.
Yes.
This is my invention. I'm very proud of it because on the journey of collecting so many workshops and certification, I came across a Japanese practice mixed and then a Chinese practice for healing. So there are sounds that Chinese have been using for centuries to heal the body, to heal emotions. So for instance, I want to give one away, which is holding your left thumb, you wrap it with your right hand. And as you hold the thumb, you make a sound like a serpent hissing. Yes. And as you do the sound, you repeat it 2 or 3 times, it dissipates the anxiety and worry. It's called the worrisome. And again, transform from worry, what do you get? Calmness. And the index finger, you have another sound, is fear, from fear to confidence. The middle finger, we use it for anger, isn't it, that one?
Yes.
And anger means patience and kindness. And then this one, the ring finger, can bring a lot of sadness. It's a sadness finger, but the sound will eliminate and get you to feeling joyful. And the little one is overwhelmed. So you work on all of this. Whenever I'm in a crisis, something bad happened, I use all my fingers, or one, depends on the situation. And all of a sudden, everything is back to the status quo, where I can think straight and act in a more victorious way.
Wow, Edwige. Oh, and this is called Dextra.
Yes.
Emotional release technique. I have never, ever heard of it before you.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty well versed in a lot of these kinds of stress relief techniques and therapeutic techniques. So we have to close. And I just want everyone to know that I am interviewing Edwige Gilbert, who is the author of Victim to Victorious.
It's available on Amazon, so please get it. There is the Kindle version. I decided to make it accessible to everyone. And because it's such a nice little book that you can take with you and really can make a big difference. And
yes, that's so beautiful that you made it so accessible to people.
Yes.
And Gilbert, Gilbert.
Yes.
Victim to victorious. And I like the idea of that we've all been victims of circumstances, of beliefs, of our culture,
Yes.
but we don't have to stay there. We can empower ourselves.
Yes.
And you being a transformational coach, you're the perfect person to go to for this. It's just wonderful. So we will meet again next week.
Yes.
And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.